Charlie Kirk destroys a college leftist who is overdosing on Trump derangement syndrome. He is huffing and puffing, and guys, it is bad. So we're gonna get right into it. It's gonna be a lot of fun, but first, everybody, do me a big favor here, all right? Like our video, share it around, and if you're new, subscribe to the Resist the Mainstream YouTube channel so we can keep bringing you guys this great content. And for those of you returning, thank you so much and welcome back. As always, everybody, I'm your host, Darian. Let's get into the show.
All right, who we got?
How you doing, Charlie? Yeah, there we go.
Yes, I love it.
You guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So obviously you watch.
Can you give it to her? Those two, yeah. Great. Those two right there.
So a lot of the stuff you talk about, I don't disagree with, but some of the stuff I just don't.
Can you tilt it up, please? Yeah.
That's what I want to do. Okay. I also don't agree with, but for the political debate, so the majority of what Trump was, the statements he was saying were majority lies compared to Harris. And the reason, I researched it in allpolitic.com. So what do you think, why do you think that like people should vote for Trump if the majority of stuff that comes out of his mouth is lies?
Well, again, let's just take one for example. They were fact checking him with fake stuff last night. And so you can't trust PolitiFact. For example, they said nowhere in the country is late-term abortion legal. That's not true. In 9 states, late-term abortion is legal, right? And so they weren't even fact-checking it correctly. And so Donald Trump might not be as precise on the facts as you and I would like. For example, he said the governor of West Virginia said you could deliver a baby, make the baby comfortable, and the baby. They call that a lie. He's the governor of Virginia, okay? West Virginia, Virginia. Is that a lie or is that just memory recall?
I think it's just depending on how he says it. It comes off and sometimes it comes off the ways just way radical, too far out.
So this guy has already pivoted his argument. First, he says this whole thing about the majority of lies Trump was telling them, which first of all isn't true. And aside from that, this whole idea of obsession with statistics and facts and data, it's just so lame. It's such a Reddit tier kind of thing to do. You know, it's kind of like that atheist on Reddit who goes around telling people he has 110 IQ or whatever, and that he knows this fact and that statistic, and oh, you disagree with the facts. Oh, gotcha. I'm just sitting here like, dude, how about you just make a rational argument that's coherently based on your observations of reality? That too much to ask? Apparently it is, because people are too busy talking about data and whatever other stupid stuff.
Let's focus less on the rhetoric. When he was president, was he radical?
Well, for example, like Make America Great Again, that was a term that he took off from Adolf Hitler.
Well, Hitler said make America great again?
No, he said make Germany great again.
Hitler drank coffee, and so did Donald Trump. Hang him! That's the level of rhetoric we're dealing with here. First, it was the facts and statistics that aren't actually facts. Now it's this. Oh, brother.
Okay, so you know Hitler also had a dog. So does everyone have a dog? You know, he got that. You know Hitler was a vegetarian? So are all vegetarians Nazis? It's a logical fallacy, right?
I got you. I see what you're saying.
Just to say that just because Hitler did it, therefore, you know, no one can do those things since. Hitler loved classical music, for example. I mean, but so what is Make America Great Again? Why are so many of your fellow friends wearing this? Here's why. And it's a good question, because you're coming out of this in good faith. It's because the people wearing these MAGA hats in this audience that are sitting through this, they know that they're about to enter into a country when they graduate that is far worse off than what their parents had. And that is deeply unjust.
And how do you know that?
From every possible metric, from home ownership, to income levels, to crime, to depression, to suicide, anxiety, alcohol addiction, drug addiction, every objective measurement that this generation is facing is worse off than their parents. This generation is more likely to kill themselves, more likely to get addicted to hard drugs, more likely to check out of society. Like, I mean, every possible metric that you look at, from misery index, from earning money, from disposable income, from money in the bank.
Let me ask.
Well, Charlie, maybe they should stop buying avocado toast. Those stupid millennials and Zoomers. It's obviously a joke, guys, and no, this is not an endorsement of buying avocado toast, but this whole idea that millennials and zillennials, Zoomers, whatever you want to call them, Gen Z, are a bunch of whiny, ungrateful, spoiled brats. Yeah, there's some truth to that, I will acknowledge, but it's not so simple. At the end of the day, economically, we do have it far more difficult than the boomer generation did, or even Gen X. It's not even close. Anyone who argues that is just being totally disingenuous. And before someone says, oh, well, you know, the wages were lower back then. Okay, cool. Yeah, the wages were lower. But guess what? the house was way cheaper, much more so, even comparatively, than it is now. So it's a totally dishonest response.
Ask you this, then do you truly think, like deep in the bottom of your heart, that Trump handled the COVID situation very well?
I mean, I think honestly there were too many restrictions. My issue with Trump is that we never should have locked down the country. We never should have made the vaccine. Instead, we should have trusted people with the Agency for Early Interventions and never should have locked down schools. So I come after it from the other side.
I mean, he didn't care about the CDC, and the growth was just was it how many millions
Well,
of people? I mean,
more people died of COVID under Biden than Trump. However, so the CDC should earn our trust. You know, it was the CDC that called ivermectin horse dewormer. The CDC said that we need to mask up, and then they admitted, oh, masks have utility. The CDC said stay 6 feet away from each other, and now they came out 3 years later, oh, we just made that up. Literally, they just said, we just made it up out of nowhere.
well, it's kind of like trial and error to figure out how to get to a point where
Well,
everybody's
no, hold on a
safe.
second. Well, that's interesting. Is it the government's role to keep you safe from an invisible virus or to protect your freedom? What is the role of government?
Both, to preserve and
To protect you from the
to
flu?
serve and protect. Yeah.
That's interesting. So under that belief, what liberty is then acceptable? Because, for example, driving caused 55,000 deaths a year. Should we ban cars because the government should keep us safe?
But there's regulations that's behind that.
No, 55,000 people with regulations die on the road every year. Let's just ban cars because we must stay safe.
Because nobody's perfect, though. That's the thing. No one's perfect. People drink and drive. People smoke and drive.
Right, and nobody's perfect. Someone's going to spread the flu to their friend, or someone's going to be overweight and get the flu.
It's not about protecting it completely. It's about containing it.
Well, but so that is a
Yeah, and how did that go, containing it? Do people even think critically for longer than about 2 seconds? Seriously, it's just find it ridiculous. Years after this whole outbreak happened, it's very clear that many of the things that were told us by the powers that be were a complete scam. And amazingly, people still have some kind of cognitive dissonance where they just can't admit that. And it's a little bit infuriating. I have a question for this kid right here, right now. Why aren't you wearing a mask? After all, COVID is still out and about. The COVID virus is still spreading. People are still getting infected by it. People are still dying from it. So you, as a person who is so conscientious about this and wants to be protected by the government, well, you should put a mask on your face. Why aren't you doing it? Do it. Of course, there's going to be no response to that, because if he was asked that, he'd probably sit there and either sit around and stammer or he'd get upset. Maybe not this guy, because he seems willing to engage dialogue, but the point stands that there is no logical thought process behind any of this, and it's crazy.
that is a very typical and dangerous central planning desire that we can contain an epidemiological disaster. Instead, the countries that did the best with COVID, like Sweden, had no lockdowns, had early interventions, and they had herd immunity. What we did was the worst thing. We shut down schools, and the CDC told us to shut down schools. We never should have. You guys probably missed your prom, homecoming, and you saw friends kill themselves because of these lockdowns. One of the greatest mistakes in American history. And by the way, you guys, I hope, never took the because the and our government lied to us and committed human rights violations.
I'm pretty sure Trump lied and pushed it off like it wasn't a big deal of COVID.
Well, no.
I like how Charlie has to censor almost everything he's saying about the COVID outbreak stuff because, terms of service on a certain platform that cannot be named. Real lovely. As far as the whole thing about Trump should have trusted the CDC, really? Are you kidding me? I had a friend, guys, who ended his own life during this pandemic. So what Charlie Kirk is saying about people losing their own lives, yeah, that's not made up. It is a real thing. And you know what? The reaction was so heartless, and I just find it unbelievable. I'm going to speak from a personal anecdote here, but I remember telling people, who many of whom were pro-lockdown, that, yeah, I had a friend who ended his own life during this thing, and I think it was because of the lockdowns. I would make a point to say that, because I really do believe that. And very obvious, suicide rates skyrocketed among youth groups. So it doesn't take a genius to put two and two together. You know what reaction I would get? I'm not kidding. More than once, a person would say to me, well, that person was probably depressed anyways, and so it just pushed him over the edge. So it is what it is. Excuse me, but what the hell? Is that supposed to make me feel better? Is that supposed to justify his death? What is that even supposed to mean? Really a profoundly disgusting thing to say. People would just say it nonchalantly, and then they'd act like I'm a bad person. I'm a bad person because I think we shouldn't lock young people away and completely destroy their lives in the selfish pursuit of protecting old people. And by the way, I say it's selfish because it didn't protect old people anyways. It only harmed the young. Anyone could have stayed home if they wanted to. Nobody was going to an old person's house and dragging them out. So the whole thing is disgusting and selfish, and I'm just sick of it. And this is a bit of a tangent here, but this reminds me of Rush Limbaugh, God rest his soul, one time emphatically stated on a show that what has happened to young people during this COVID outbreak and lockdowns is wrong, and that it's not right, and that it is totally incorrect to prioritize the needs of elderly over the young. The young, after all, are the future of our society. And that's not to say don't protect the elderly. Of course we do, but we do not harm the young in some kind of misguided pursuit of protecting the elderly. That is wrong and it's disgusting.
Of COVID?
Well, no. In fact, it's the opposite. He was the one that was pushing for 15 days to slow the spread, and he was the CDC allowed this. So you would have liked a stronger response to COVID.
Explain that.
Would you have liked, for example, in the state of New York, where you weren't allowed to leave your house?
If it's protecting me and protecting other people, yeah, I would.
So that we have a worldview difference. The government has no right to tell me that I can't leave my home.
I see what you're saying on that point. That point I say it. Like the rights, yes. But
Yeah.
it's just for safety. It's precaution.
Do you think the government ever might lie to you?
Well, the government always lies to us. How do we know what's right then? It's like you said, it's
Bingo.
brainwash.
You must use wisdom and prudence, and you must become a sovereign, informed citizen and not trusting of the Anthony Fauci's of the world, be able to come to your own conclusions using reason.
Let me ask you this. Are you based off facts or opinions?
Of course, facts. But more importantly than facts, wisdom. What is the difference, and I'm not putting you on the spot, this is important. What is the difference between wisdom and knowledge?
So wisdom, knowledge is knowing, and wisdom is experience.
Maybe.
So
Again, it's not a pop quiz,
Yeah.
but it's very important. This is why colleges are such a problem right now. They're lacking of wisdom. Wisdom is the understanding of things that never change.
Yeah.
How
that's
do you
what it
get?
was.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Wisdom is you get from great books, experience, or being around very wise people. That's
Yeah.
why older people then have wisdom. So wisdom is what you use when a crisis unfolds. You don't use a bunch of facts you learned. Oh, well, the CDC says it's Instead, we must ask the deeper questions. Who should be protected first and foremost? We failed during COVID. During COVID, we said old people need to be protected. And children should be protected first and foremost. Since when did we have this idea that we should sacrifice the kids for the adults?
Valid.
Right? That's what we did. Secondly, we use wisdom to ask the question of what is the balance between liberty and safety? Should we close every business just to prevent the disease from being spread? Anthony Fauci said, quote, if just one life is spared, then it is all worth it. You know that's rubbish. It's insane. You cannot have a free society and not also have a lot of negative, unfortunate, and tragic events. You even admitted that earlier. But wisdom is how we determine that, we navigate those. And our leaders are lacking of wisdom. Why are they lacking wisdom, everybody? Because wisdom begins with the fear of the Lord. As America becomes less religious, we become less wise.
I got you. That's good. All right, thank you, Charlie.
Thank you, appreciate it. God bless you.
Can I get a selfie with you?
Yes, of course. Disagreements are welcome, yes.
Facts. And to Charlie's point, I think this idea that we could have contained COVID-19 in the first place is just a testament to the arrogance of modern mankind, where they think that they can essentially do a godly action, some kind of divine thing. That's insane to me. At the end of the day, you cannot stop such a thing, and that was clearly proven as time went on. So, we're right. They were wrong. With that being said, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it. As always, please be sure to comment below. Let us know what you liked about the clip, what kind of stuff you want to see in the future, and we'll see you guys again soon. Thanks, and God bless.